We got so many questions. I was shocked. Hey, what's up YouTube? Today I am bringing you my first YouTube Q&A based off of some questions that you guys posted on my post. Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Christine with Gauge Girl Training, an online meal planning and coaching service, and today I am bringing you my first YouTube Q&A based off of some questions that you guys posted on my post on Instagram as well as Facebook. So let's get started. Alright, so our first question is from Adri Barrett. How do you assess whether your macros are working, weight loss inches, etc.? And how often do you recommend that they be reassessed? This is a really good question, and I recommend that you monitor your weight and your measurements. For all of my clients, I provide a tracking chart for all of your measurements, and if you are no longer losing at least half an inch off of your waist per week, at that point I recommend reassessing your macros. The next question is Lovely Unknown says, what advice do you have for families that necessarily will not eat the same meals prepared? How do you budget for seemingly two separate weekly grocery lists? First of all, I don't think any female on the planet wants to cook two completely different sets of meals, and I think this is where there needs to be a little bit like, this is kind of like what we're eating as a family. So for instance, on my YouTube channel, I have a cilantro lime crock pot chicken recipe. Let's say you're eating that and you have like your portion of veggies and maybe a small bit of rice for that, and that's your meal. Great. Well, what you can do with your family is allow more condiments, toppings, and other things like that for them to make it into whatever they're going to eat. For instance, you can take this cilantro lime crock-pot chicken and they can make chicken tacos. Let them have some cheeses, some tortillas, some salsas, some guacamole, things like that, where you can just have it without all the added toppings. I think sticking to one main source of protein and allowing additional toppings and add-ons, especially for anyone who is cooking for, like, in your relationship, like your boyfriend or husband doesn't eat the same things as you, something really easy. You can both have a steak dinner. It's just you're gonna have vegetables with your steak and you're not gonna have like cheese and bacon and craziness all over it, where it's just a matter of changing up the sides and focusing the meals around one protein source. Next question is, I love your programs. They work so well. My biggest problem is keeping up with my macros for the long term. How do you stay motivated day in and day out? I have an expectation of how I want to feel in life and how I want to look. And I know that if I don't eat right, I feel like crap. Like, I just do. I feel good when I'm eating the right portions for my body and my goals. So I think you just need to ask yourself how you want to feel and how serious you are about it. Another thing that does motivate me is progress pictures. When I see like how far I've come, it definitely motivates me to keep going, as well as any like non-scale victories. Like if I'm in the gym and I'm able to lift more than I was able to in the past, or I'm able to have like better performance or endurance in some sort of way, that's definitely motivating for me. Next question. Do you really need to limit/count macros for non-starchy veggies on a maintenance plan? No, you don't. I'm sorry, if you're on a maintenance plan and you're freaking out whether you're eating 6 Brussels sprouts or 5 Brussels sprouts, you need to get a hobby. Like, it's not that serious. I wouldn't worry about it. As long as you're not adding like tons and tons of olive oil and whatnot. I count a lot of veggies like spinach, kale, arugula, just greens. I count them as free foods. It's a very insignificant amount of calories. Have you seen any difference in success with strict macro counting/meal planning versus IIFYM approach? I have seen greater success with macro counting when I meal plan versus an IIFYM approach. IIFYM is good for lifestyle. It keeps you in track. It keeps you within bounds. But if I have a very specific targeted goal that I'm trying to reach, I find that IIFYM allows for a little bit less planning. And with less planning, there's less intention in general. I have done 6 contest preps for bikini competitions, and the one contest prep that I did an IIFYM approach, I did an IIFYM approach for 16 weeks. It was my worst prep ever. It was the least satisfied I ever was with my physique on stage, and I was not happy with my overall results. I was testing it out, and I just didn't like it because I find that when you're meal planning, your body gets used to seeing certain foods repeatedly over and over again, and your body becomes more efficient at breaking down those foods by creating the digestive enzymes you need to break them down, compared to IIFAM, where your body doesn't get as efficient. Now, is IIFAM a great maintenance lifestyle approach and plan? Absolutely, it's a great way to provide boundaries and structure. But if you have a very targeted, specific, dialed in goal, I would not recommend it. Next question, carb cycling. Yay or nay? It depends. If you are at the point where you're at that last 3% of your body fat you're trying to get off, absolutely do it. Use it. It'll tweak you. It'll take you there, home stretch. Carb cycling, I don't recommend it though for a regular approach to weight loss / fat loss. The reason I don't is because it tends to be a little aggressive. It gets a little confusing for some people, changing their macros every day. It's not sustainable in the long run, but some people like it. I wouldn't recommend it for general weight loss. If you're a competitor or you're prepping for a photo shoot and you have something very specific you're trying to fine tune, I'd say it's an extra tool I'd put on the table, but for general use, I would say no. Next question is, it says, hi Christine, when losing weight, your macros will eventually need to be adjusted downwards. How often do we need to do that, and how do we adjust our macros downwards during weight loss? This is a loaded question. You don't necessarily need to do a downward decrease all the time. People assume you need to. You don't always necessarily need to. You need to tweak your macros based off of the nature of the results that you are getting and the rate at which you want to reach those goals. I did a really great video explaining exactly how to calculate your macros on how to build a fat loss meal plan, what ranges and ratios are going to work for you. But it's not a simple if this, then this, if that, then that, just because it's such a loaded question. In general though, how often do you need to do that? I would say until you plateau. You want to keep your calories and your macros as high as possible before you drop it down. I wouldn't arbitrarily just start at a low calorie level. If you can be at 1,500 to 2,000 calories and still losing body fat, still losing weight, you want to stay as high as possible until you plateau. In your female endomorph transformation video, you mention the sensitivity of endomorphs to carbs. So what do you mean by that? How should we track carbs to help this out? Endomorphs have a tendency to be a little bit more resistant and sensitive to carbs, in the sense that their bodies hold on to carbohydrates and have a harder time burning them off more than other macronutrients. So what this means is you should have a dialed in knowledge of how many carbs you can have a day. I am not saying you can't have carbs. I'm not saying have zero carbs. I'm not saying carbs are bad. The amount of carbs you need to eat a day need to be adjusted and dialed into your body. Now, 1 gram of carbohydrates binds 2.7 grams of water. Endomorphs hold on to that a little bit more than other body types. The best way to go about it is to know what your total calories need to be for a caloric deficit. From there, you need to be able to break down your protein and fat based off of the guidelines in my video on how to build a fat loss meal plan. And then from there, make sure you just know how many carbs your body's supposed to have per day. If you're not sure and you want some help, you can go to GageGirlTraining.com and purchase a consult. I'll be happy to help you. And then just track it in MyFitnessPal. And that way you will know how many you need to be in for the day. All right, next question. This is from Elizabeth Epps. It says, do you have general advice for middle-aged men? My father is interested in improving his overall health and losing some weight, but he's not ready to buy a plan. The number one thing you could start doing right now is, aside of eliminating alcohol from your diet, start meal planning. Start planning. I'm not trying to sell meal plans, but I am saying fail to plan to fail. If you don't know what you're going to eat and you just kind of meander about your day, eating kind of whatever you kind of sort of maybe feel like, you're never going to get anywhere. So you definitely need to put intention to what you're going to eat, making sure you're getting quality protein, you're getting enough vegetables, you're getting enough fiber, you're getting enough complex carbohydrates, and you are not exceeding how many calories your body needs to be in a deficit. So aside of eliminating alcohol, definitely start planning your meals and stop eating out. First thing you can do right off the bat. My stepdad, I put him on a meal plan. My mom prepped all of his foods. He was so successful in probably about like 6 to 8 weeks, lost 25 pounds easily. Was never hungry just because he followed a meal plan. There was no guesswork. Everything was calculated within what his goals, and he just followed it. It's pretty straightforward and simple. The next question is, how long does it take to heal an unhealthy metabolism, and how would one notice if things are improving? This is going to depend. If you have had issues with your metabolism where you have overdone it when it comes to your diet, if you've put your body through undue stress of just being at an extreme caloric deficit for a long time, I say you need to stop trying to lose weight. Focus on repairing your relationship with food. That needs to be the utmost #1 priority. I do not focus on that, but there are specialists that can help you with that if you have a poor relationship with food. I say stop trying to lose weight. Focus on just eating quality whole foods that satiate you, that make you feel good, and give you energy. How would one notice if things are improving? You'll notice if things are improving by how you feel. Honestly, if you are feeling stronger, more energetic, if you are able to be more powerful in the gym, if your performance is getting better, if you just have more energy, you'll notice. I'd say definitely you can gauge it by your energy. Lastly, don't try to be so aggressive. I just tell this to everybody. I've had some people like tell me that they've put themselves on 700 to 800 calories a day for months and months and months. Now their metabolism is all jacked up, all out of whack. Like, take baby steps. It doesn't have to be so aggressive. As long as you're making progress and steady and consistent progress, you'll get there. You'll get there. So keep on keeping on. And anyone who has had issues with your metabolism, I just encourage you to focus on cleaning up your nutrition. Don't worry about portions, just worry about the quality of the foods, worry about your energy levels, and just start from there. How long can this take? Give yourself a minimum of anywhere from 3 to 6 months to just take a mental break and just allow your body just to heal on its own with that stuff. Next question is, for somebody who is restricted from using protein powders, bars, or other processed protein, does it take longer to see results? The answer is no. You can get protein from a different source. You can eat eggs, you can eat chicken, you can eat steak, shrimp, whatever source of protein you want. It doesn't have to be a powder or a bar. I recommend a protein powder just because it's an economical option, and a lot of people tell me that they struggle to hit their protein macros, so that's why I recommend it. But you don't need to. You can get your protein from real whole foods. What if they are on a limited amount of protein in general due to medical issues? That is a loaded question. It's going to depend on how much, what your constraints are, how much you weigh, how much you're trying to weigh, how old you are, how often you train. So that's not a very simple, straightforward question. Next question, is there a sweet spot for my heart rate during lifting weights to determine if my load is heavy enough? Or should I only pay attention to my heart rate zones when doing cardio? I recommend only paying attention to your heart rate during cardio. When you're weight training, your heart rate may not necessarily be as high as it is during cardio, but just because it's so anaerobic, it may be high when you're like actually doing your deadlifts or your squats, but like that, it's only for a number of seconds. So I wouldn't stress over it. Just make sure that you are lifting a weight heavy enough to challenge you enough so that it's hard. If you're like going through like a weight training workout and you don't have like a drip of sweat on your body throughout the workout, you're probably not working hard enough, unless you're one of those like people that just doesn't sweat at all. How often should I change my strength training program? Although we should always be trying to up the weights and reps, I imagine at some point we need to change up the exercises so that we don't get used to them and fail to progress further as quickly. I recommend changing it up at least every 6 weeks or so. So if you liked this Q&A, it's funny, when I posted the Q&A, I thought I would get some easier questions like, what's your favorite meal? But no, I got a lot of hard questions, and there were a lot more that were a little bit beyond the nature of a general YouTube Q&A video, just because they're so loaded and so specific to that person that it would be hard to answer them generally. So if you like this, subscribe to me on Periscope, because I do ask the food scientist Periscopes on a regular basis where you can ask me questions live. If there's something I didn't cover, comment below. I'll gladly do another one of these videos again. One of the most common excuses I get is, well, eating healthy is just so expensive. Today I am going to show you guys how the average woman can meal plan for only $5 a day.